Всім вітання! З вами Слава Світова, Creative Women's Space, простір для жінок, які бажають розвиватися в творчості та бізнесі. І ми запустили серію заходів, онлайн-заходів для українських жінок, які проживають кризи, проживають зміни у зв'язку із брутальною війною, яку веде Росія проти України зараз. І у нас сьогодні з нами Манан Мкhitaryan, вона вірменка з Вірменії, представляє громадську організацію жіночу, яка знаходиться в Мартуні і яка працює з жінками. І я невимовно рада була познайомитися з Манан під час одного культурного проєкту кілька років тому. Ми разом працювали над проєктом, ми разом спілкувалися, я відвідувала Єреван в Мартуні, Манан була в Києві, в Харкові, була в Спейсі. Ось, і тому те, що вона сьогодні скаже, тим досвідом, яким вона поділиться, я впевнена, цей досвід буде корисним для багатьох із вас, тому що я переконана і продовжую запевнятися в тому, що де б не були жінки, і щоразу, як жінки збираються разом, з того виходить щось дуже хороше, навіть якщо це просто коло, безпечне коло підтримки, тому що найвеличніші, найбільш хороші, успішні речі, вони розпочинаються зазвичай з маленького кола, з маленького кроку. Manan, I am very happy and honored to see you today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for agreeing to participate in our motivational series of workshops and events for the Ukrainian women. And I give you the word. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, I will speak in English. First of all, let me welcome you to this meeting and thank you for watching us over the next 1 or 2 hours. My name is Manan and I'm from Armenia, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this format and share my experience. You can write me questions and tell us your story, and if you will see this video after this meeting on social media later, you also can leave comments there. I will read and try to answer them. For Ukraine, and not only for him, it's now not an easy time, and we will discuss with you, we'll talk about migration, refugee issues on the points of view of myself and like a personal level. I don't want to concentrate on global or local reasons why war happened in the 21st century. This is a topic for each person on the earth, but today we will talk about more results and effects. I want to share with you what has happened with me and some people who lives in Armenia. The context for Armenia was the following. Artsakh is a small place where ethnic Armenians live for decades, and on September 27th, 2020, fighting broke out between Azerbaijan and Artsakh along the line of contact, and Armenia has seen large number of arrivals of ethnically Armenian inhabitants from Artsakh, and mostly women and children. Official number 90,000 person who have been displaced from Artsakh to Armenia. You can search for the information further about the conflict. I don't want to concentrate on it right now, but since September 27th, our province has started hosting displaced people from Artsakh, and approximately 3,300 people have been hosted in the province. Like many displaced people stayed with host families, relatives, friends, friends of friends, and that time was the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic time, and also that was also a factor which is important for us to mention, because one emergency is hard, but when the second is coming, it's twice harder and to overcome both physically and psychologically. My organization directly implemented activities with a focus on basic needs related to hygiene, shelter, and education. And I want to talk. I want to tell you about also migration, and tell that migration is a normal human activity. On 1 in 13 person are migrants in the world, but the hardest part is when a person has to leave the place he or she used to live. This is not a choice. We always like to travel or to live in the developed or interesting countries to get education, but the status of being a refugee is hardly bearable, even in the countries we have dreamed about. So, and also I would like to talk about a little bit decision-making and decision-making processes. Why decision-making is important during such kind of emergency situations, because during our lives, when we are usually lives, it's comfortable for us. We have time to think about what kind of decision we are making. But during emergency times, during the war, during other disasters, we don't have time. So we decide stay in the country or not, stay in your province or not. We have decision even be or not to be, like stay a place where you can die, or to move and stay with your parents, or take the parents with you. So this is very, very hard process, and the most important thing is not to blame others like for their decisions. It's important. When we are talking about refugees and people who leave their country or their community, it's important to support them. But the life is not so easy as it seems to be. It's easy to say not to blame. But what about me? How prepared was I? I was not prepared at all. I was not prepared for war, and I think no one is, and no one was. But ability of our body and our mind to adapt to the situation helps a lot. First, when I saw many people in my community, so many displaced people in my community, that was a small panic for me. I can say I was a little bit lucky. I have my job and I have chance to have the experience working with displaced people. Not only my organization and we help others, but also they help us to think about what we are doing, and actually think about some interesting things about life. At that time, first I talked to 3 women who tell me their stories, and I remember those 3 cases very well. When I heard that stories, I noticed I can't see any displaced people anymore. I can't see any people anymore. That was a small, like, panic. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't do anything. That was a very bad situation, and At that time, it seems to me I am at the end of the world, and now I will fall down psychologically, of course. But actually work helped a lot. So we worked more than we used to, like in the morning from 9 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m. We didn't get tired. We didn't complain. That was a time for one unique phenomenon in our society, and we provided humanitarian and psychological assistance to women and children. And when I am thinking about that period, I can understand that we forgot about one important thing. That's self-care, both physical and psychological. The easiest thing is to give advice, but I want to give others advice in this case because I didn't understand how important is self-care at that moment, but right now I can understand, and I can give advice in this case. Self-care, like when on an airplane, why do they ask parents to put the mask on themselves before their children? You can't take care of others if you don't do it for yourself. Like, and this is a rule. After the war, also I have some tips for me. First tip is to share your story, to share with anyone you trust or anyone even you don't know. It's very important. And listen to others. To create some small groups to talk about what has happened is very good idea. You try at that time to solve your traumas. Of course, during the war and emergency situations, you have a lot of traumas, and to try to work on these traumas is important even during the wartime. To share your stories, to listen stories, and even you have some stories you can write on the comments. Online tools also is very good tools to share stories. I can't tell that helping other people will overcome your all your problems or traumas. It's not truth, because when during the time I forget about the bad situation, because I worked every day, and sometimes I didn't notice how time passed. If you are working a lot or trying to help others, sometimes your trauma sleeps and it wakes up after 3 or 4 months. So if you feel you need a psychologist, this is the best time to apply. And if you don't feel that, you can do that after or on the correct time you feel you need that. And another tip I have is to cutting news time. Like when you are reading news, I was reading every day, and I put my finger on the pulse of news, knowing how many soldiers killed, how is the situation on the border, and that was really very hard. And choosing 1 or 2 news or official news is the best way to not to go into deep, and to save your time, and save time for taking care of yourself. Maybe I'm telling this after the war, because during that time I didn't understand that, and it was very important for me to read news each day, from morning till the evening, even the nights. but each time you're reading the same news again and again and again, you're cutting your sleep time, and that's not very good for health. And I would like to talk about the communication with refugees. It's a very interesting process when you're talking to other people whom you don't know. You host them, you help them, but you don't know them. Actually, we were lucky because all our refugees were Armenians, and why lucky? Because we were not prepared, and what if other nationalities will come? And it's very hard to host others. It seems it's easy. You're human beings, you can host others, but actually that's very hard. Every day you're listening news, and all this pressure on you can be very hard bearable. But again, this is chance for you, for people who host for others. It's a chance to know other people. It's a chance to create new cycles, new groups, to talk with them, to share your stories, to listen their stories. They bring with them so many different experiences they can share with you, and even sometimes it seems they don't, but when you are talking with them, it's really you can find out so many interesting stories. The communication actually during the war is a very interesting thing, because there is a lot of emotions during the emergency times. You feel and you experience that emotions, and when you are communicating with others, you can love. Even at the time you can't know this is very unexpected reaction. You're laughing, but you shouldn't. For example, one day with our staff members, we are sitting telling stories and laughing, like that's not normal in the situation when you're hearing a lot of bad news, but this is the reaction of our body, and this is the reaction should be. And sometimes the humor can help to a little bit forget maybe about the situation you are. And thank you for the comment. I think that Slava will translate, and after that I will read that. Thank you very much. I already tell what we have, what kind of situation we have, and right now, today, I want also to mention that today is the Army Day in Armenia. Like each day, each year, we were celebrating this day as an Army Day, and this is like a symbolic last 2 years to when this day we don't know what to do. Like this is a day which we have to celebrate and say thank you to the army, but we have so many emotions, and we remember so many things that in one case it's very hard to think about that, to remember, and another thing we can understand that that the future is not far away and life goes on, and the importance of positive thinking is we appreciate the importance. Also, during this situation, I understand that there is some words that are under question, like democracy and dictatorship, hate speech, like a lot of things, a lot of principles I had before, like before the war. I started to think about them more when after the war, during the war, and you're thinking if these concepts are correct or not. Like democracy is a very thin thing and can break very easily, but our principles to be like to be kind, not to hate others. These things are were for us a little bit maybe not very practical. Maybe we didn't think about them, but actually after the emergency situations, we think about them. And it's important to remember that to be human beings and to love each other, to respect each other, not to tell negative words to each other is very important during these times. It's very hard, actually. And there is a lot of emotions right now we have, but it's important to understand that our priority is not to be negative people and love others. And if not, then there is no any meaning to live and to continue our work. When you help others, for example, a person who lost his or her house, leave everything and came to you and don't ask help, you feel so good when you help them. It's so good feeling when you help them. And sometimes I surprise how others can't do this thing, how they do the negative things, like start the war, how they can do that. And after that, you can understand that this is important to help others. Right now, I talked about a lot about Artsakh, and right now Artsakh is in danger because they have a small corridor with Armenia, and that corridor is closed. And if the last time 2 years ago I can help them, I can give them some, I can help them to give them some house or some humanitarian assistance. Right now I don't have any resources, any things to help them, and 120 people are closed in a small area, and they don't have water, they don't have gas, electricity, and some food. And again, it's surprising how in 21st century people can do such kind of negative things. So, as Slava said, I ever been in Ukraine in 2019, when there were not war, there were not COVID, there were not any emergency situation. At least a lot of things has happened before that, but the situation was not so critical, both for Ukraine and for Armenia. And I hope that a lot of people, a lot of countries will reflect on this topic and think about some personal level questions, and think about some people, not only for for their interests, and not for land, but also some people who live there and take care of people. So that's all I would like to tell, and if it's interesting for you, maybe to ask questions, or if it's interesting for you to listen more about some topic or some stories, please tell me.
Manan, I would like to translate this question here in chat. It's Oksana. She said that she created a special project which is called The Keys. And the project is dedicated to those Ukrainians who have lost their homes, either physically, like the house or the apartment building was totally destroyed, or in a larger sense, they had to leave the place where they belonged to and go into the unknown, either in Ukraine, just shifting the territories, or going abroad. And she says that she feels a little bit shy approaching those people and asking them to share these stories, because she said, I am fine, I am safe, I haven't lived through what they have lived through, I haven't lost my home physically. So her question is, how do you struggle with the feeling of pity? Because the feeling of pity is a very tricky feeling. People do not want to feel victims. They do not want others to feel pity towards them. How to remain equal, but at the same time to show the empathy, to be there, but not to damage. Maybe you could comment on that, please.
First of all, do not harm is the first principle you should have all the time. No matter if you are an activist, it's the key point not to harm. And when you try to help others, it's very important to understand that both of you and the person who you want to help, you will have a lot of feelings, and you can't control others' reactions, others' feelings. Even if you are a very good professional, it's important to. It's not possible to predict the reaction of others. A lot of people in my community blame displaced people in my community here who came here, blame them because they are doing their nails or go to hairdressers. There is a lot of such kind of situations, but it's important that you understand they need something else. Like they need to forget, at that moment, they need to forget about what they feel. There are different people, people who will come to you and ask you help, like even physical. There will be a lot of people who will be shy and not to ask you some help. And there will be people who will lie, telling that they need some help, and others who will lie they don't need. This is a very individual thing. You should be very open with them. At that time when we give some assistance to displaced people, that was a COVID time, and we always closed our faces, and there were times when we just open our faces for them to see our face. To be a person with them is important. And what about physical? First of all, if you want to help, you should be a professional, to study every time, to learn every time. I was not prepared, and no one is prepared. But to learn to read about it, it's very important. What we did a very deep assessment, need assessment. How many people needs a host families. We try and we did some take a paper and pen and write how many families are ready to host, because it's also very hard to host other families, and there were host families who very kindly hosted 2 or 3 other families, and right now they are very close friends. So we did assessment. We, especially if you are working with women, it's important. It's so important to understand what they need. Sometimes they need things you can't imagine, like a small towel. This is the all thing they need. But there are people who, and very important to talk with them ethically, very kind, not trying to blame them, or not trying to show them why you moved or why you are here, why you didn't go there, why not this country but that country. It's very important, but it's also not to show that oh, you are my small kid, like pity, why you are, I can hug you, I can't, no, hugging people is not bad. You can hug if they need, but doing that artificially to show that you care, it's, they can feel everything. Even negative or positive thing they can feel, because at that moment they have a lot of emotions, and they can feel each your movement, each word you can. And I wanted to tell a story which I didn't tell anyone, but it's very shameful for me, because that was 3 or 4 months after the war, and we give assistance a lot of people. We meet 1,000 people, and women came, and we, for 100%, we were sure that she has an apartment where she can live, but there were a lot of people who don't have that apartment. She gave rent for that apartment, and the woman tell me, I want a house, like very directly, I want a house. And at that moment I tell her a lot of people need that. And why it is shameful for me, because at that moment you should understand that she is blaming everyone. She can be very aggressive. This is not because she is a bad person, but because she is in a very hard psychological condition. She lost her house she used to live. She could choose the chair, the table she wants to buy for her house, but right now she don't have that opportunity. And the context in Armenia is like everyone, like it's not usually, people don't rent house. Usually they buy their, or create, or build their houses. And psychologically twice hard for them to rent a house. This is a little bit national thing, but a lot of people afraid when they lost their house. And another thing, thank you for your question. Another thing I want to mention, not only people have psychological traumas, but they also start to remember the old ones. For example, in 1988 in Armenia, in Gyumri, a territory in Armenia, there were an earthquake, and a lot of people lost their houses. And I know some people, some activists who worked there, they have a lot of psychological problems because they forget to lose their houses twice. And they were crying, they were in a very bad position. So if you think that a person could have old traumas, like lost a relative, or lost a person they trust, so you should be a little bit careful talking with them. We ask, for example, there were cases we were doing an assessment and writing family members' names and surnames, and when we ask a woman, does your husband lives with you? She told no, and we mentioned no. Then we understand that she lost her husband. Like, I think this is very normal situations you will pass, and after that you can do reflection, you can think about that. But it's so good when you help others. Actually, that feeling is you can change that feeling with other feelings. You forget about everything when you can understand that you help one more women today. This is important, and I don't know if I miss anything of that question.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much for talking about that. And I also have another question. It's my personal one, because I've heard a lot of things about the fact that Ukrainians abroad, the refugees who stay abroad, they do not usually choose to communicate with the Ukrainians. And it's either because of they are all traumatized and they don't want to enter this bad experience again, or maybe there are other reasons that I know nothing about. But my question is, do you do anything to facilitate the new community? Maybe you organize some events, or maybe supportive circles where people just at their own choice, when they feel so, they can come and talk and go and then maybe come again. Because you can't enforce it. You can make someone come and make friends with someone if it's not the need, as you said. We have to think about the needs. But if to make it ecologically, if to just, serve it as an alternative which exists and is available at hand. So just maybe you could share some thoughts on that.
Yeah, this is not the only. Actually, I heard a lot of things about Ukrainian refugees, especially in Europe, like different countries in Europe, and because we have big diaspora, and a lot of Armenians also live in Europe. They tell a lot of things about Ukrainians. Sometimes they work with them. Sometimes they try to organize some integration projects, etc. There is, and also I heard a story when a refugee blames other refugee, like this is the case, really surprised me. Like you feel all that thing and you blame others, but there is a community, there is a society, and it's always hard when you try to integrate other foreign, at that time, foreign people in that society. And a lot of people maybe will not understand why, for example, a Ukrainian refugee will do this or that activity. It's normal because this is not their usual life. When they can walk on the street and meet a lot of other people, but at that time they can hear a Ukrainian language, and this is very unusual. All these things, both refugee and host society should need psychological help, because psychologists can describe people why they should accept and why should they be tolerant to others. And to talk about the integration, it's a very long process. Even I talked about Artsakh. A lot of people were Armenians, and they talk in Armenian language. And integration process, even at that case, were very hard because the dialect was different. They have their unique words they used. And we did a lot of projects, help them to, but not doing instead of them, just help them, train them, to give them space to tell about their feelings. At that time, people even don't have any plan for her life. Like at that moment, a lot of plans stopped, and a refugee can feel a very mess thing on her head, and it's important to give them time to understand what they are going to do. First 2-3 weeks or months or years, they even will think that they are not going to live there and will go back to their homes. It's also very important. They can't have connection with the community they live. And a lot of people leave our province, went to other provinces, and a lot of people travel all over the world to find the place they want to live, but they will not find, because the place they need is their houses. We created, actually we are not creating directly cycles or a place they can sit and talk, but usually we are doing during the trainings, trying to give them some business ideas they can do. A lot of people right now preparing meals or other things they used to prepare at home. A lot of women try to integrate in our society. Some of them already start to talk like our society is talking. They are already on the same page, but again, this is very individual. We have cases we worked with women, it's already 2 years, but they can't find their place and they leave us, or they are always criticize us and criticize the society right now they live. The perfect place for them is their houses. We can't change these things, but again, for their well-being, we have to do more than we need. And also, I want to talk a little bit about migrants who came here from Ukraine and Russia. We have right now a lot of people who came here, and it's very surprising how these two migrants can live together here. And it's psychologically hard when you see your enemy like next to you. It's not easy, but people leave, people have different approaches. I can't even imagine how is this. And a lot of Armenians leave other countries next to their enemies. It's okay. But again, this is another trauma, this is another story, and this is another thing we should pay to attention and work on it. In our province, we don't have Russian or Ukraine migrants, but all of them are mainly in Yerevan. And they also have so many problems, so many even household things they have to overcome, but they will do because human beings are like things, they can do that, and they will do that. Just it hurts.
Flexibility is our superpower.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Manan. It's nobody could have thought that in the 21st century we would be having the war, which will be influencing so many people and so many countries. And we are different, but we live through similar experiences, and we are struggling to survive and to make our lives as normal as we possibly can. Maybe someone has any questions to Manan. I'm sure she'll be happy to comment or answer. So you are welcome for some round of questions.
And when you were maybe thinking, I can add another thing about refugees in other countries. Sometimes host countries think that the refugee should learn all the cultural things and habits the host country have, and sometimes everyone forces refugee to forget about the language, to forget about the culture, forget about self feelings. It's not only always and this doesn't work because whatever they will do, the refugee needs that. And especially at that moment when they need to express their culture, their feelings, they have to do that. They should have opportunity and proper place to do that.
If there are any questions, you're welcome to ask them. You may write your questions in Ukrainian if you feel comfortable. I will translate them, or you may ask them in English. If we don't have any questions so far, I would like to thank everyone for taking your time on Saturday and coming today. And Manan, thank you for your time and for sharing the experience that you have and your organization and what you are doing every day to work with refugees in your countries. I think the points that you've mentioned could be, well, affordable to just take them and apply them in our context, in the Ukrainian context, because we have a lot of people shifting around within the country, and people go and people come back and they go again. Because yeah, I really liked that comment, because they keep searching for that best place, but the best place is their home, and this is something that cannot be replaced in any part of the country or earth. So thank you so much for your time. And if
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. I also want to add that this series of stories can be a lot, and each case is individual, and maybe it will work for others, maybe not. But I would like for us to pay attention more about personal cases, and to understand that personal feelings and cases are important and matter, and we should pay attention to that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you have mentioned. And thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
And then I will leave you for the day. Have a nice day, everyone, and stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.